This week on Crime Investigator, we discuss the Hiroshima high school girl murder case in 2004. This case happens in Hiroshima Prefecture, Japan. After the case happened, it does not have any further progression in the next 14 years of investigation. Just when everyone thought that the case would never be solved. In April 2018, the Japan police suddenly solved the case, and the Hiroshima Prefectural District Court handed down its verdict on March 18, 2020. So what happened in the 5th of October, 2004? And how the Japan police could solve this case in April 2018? Let's get into it. The victim of this case is Satomi Kitaguchi. She born in 1987, in Hiroshima Prefecture, Japan. It is located in the southwestern part of Japan's Honshu Island, bordering the Seto Inland Sea. Hiroshima Prefecture is rich in natural resources with mountains. Sea, very famous in the agriculture and fishing industry. In the southwestern part of Hiroshima Prefecture, there is a small town called Hatsukiichi City, which is an important lumber port in Japan. Satomi and her family house locate in Kamihira area of Hatsukiichi City. Their house is a separate building house. On the left side is the first floor main building. On the right side is the second floor vice building, which is interconnected inside. Satomi's family consists of 5 members. There are her father, mother, grandmother, Satomi and her sister. There lives happily here. However, in October 2004, a horrible incident falls to them. So what had happened that day? And what misfortune had befallen to Satomi? Satomi was 17 years old in 2004. She is a second-grade senior high school student in Hatsukiichi. In the 5th of October, 2004 was a Tuesday. This morning Satomi rode her bicycle from home to school early in the morning as usual. This day was a little special. He did not have to stay at school all day because it was exam day. Satomi only had exams in the morning. There were no classes in the afternoon. After she finished the exams, Satomi was ready to go home from school. The school was dismissed 3 hours earlier than usual on this day. Since it was a weekday, he saw very few pedestrians on his way home. By 1 p.m., Satomi returned home. Both of his parents were away at work at this time of day. Only his grandmother and sister were home. They were watching TV in the living room on the first floor of the house. Satomi entered the house and greeted them, then sat down to eat his lunch alone. After eating lunch, she felt a little sleepy. So she went back to her room. Her room wasn't on the main floor of the living room, but on the second floor of the vice building beside. Although the main building and the vice building were interconnected inside. But there was still a distance between the living room and Satomi's room. In a few hours, by 5 in the evening, Satomi would have to leave home for her part-time job. So when she returned to her room, she lay down on the bed and listened to music to rest. An hour later, at 3 p.m., his grandmother and sister in the living room on the first floor were still watching TV with great interest. Suddenly they heard a terrible scream coming from upstairs beside. It was obviously Satomi's voice. When they heard the scream, they got up and went to the second floor to check what was going on. They walked from the first floor to the second floor and then came to Satomi's door. The door was hollow and unlocked. They pushed open the door and were shocked by the scene in front of them. They saw Satomi lying motionless on the floor beside the bedroom bed, covered in blood. What was even more frightening was that there was a strange man standing next to Satomi. The man was about 20 years old. He had short hair and a knife in his hand. Seeing such a scene, the grandmother and her sister were both terrified. Satomi's sister was so scared and she ran downstairs and rushed out of the house. She hid in a gardening shop 50 meters away from the house. As she cried, she repeated to the garden shop owner, "My sister had been stabbed. My sister had been stabbed." After the sister ran away, the grandmother also trembled in fear. She hurriedly turned around and tried to leave. The short-haired man was first startled when he saw someone suddenly open the door. He was stunned for a few seconds, then he held the knife in his hand and stabbed the grandmother back 4 times. Satomi's grandmother fell to the ground. Then the short-haired man ran out of the door. He ran out of the house. Although the grandmother had been stabbed several times, but had not hurt the vital parts of her body. She tried with all her might to save his granddaughter, who was lying next to him. But it was useless, and then she thought of another little granddaughter. She wondered if the short-haired man would harm her. So the grandmother covered her wounds and went back to the first floor living room in pain. She called the police. And then she fainted. The police were immediately dispatched to the scene after receiving the call. Soon, police cars and ambulances rushed to the scene. When they entered the house, they first found the grandmother on the first floor beside the phone and took her to the hospital. In the second floor bedroom, they found Satomi in a pool of blood with no vital signs. The forensic examination found 10 stab wounds on her body. The fatal wound was a stab wound near the heart. The body was not wrapped. Police then reviewed the terrain near Satomi's home. When the murderer fled after the crime, if he went out to the left, he could have entered other nearby houses or escaped from the river. If he had gone out to the right, there was a main road next to the house and he could have gone in a different direction. If someone saw the direction the suspect went when he left the house, it will be very helpful. It could determine if the crime was committed by someone new by Satomi or not. The police then set out to find the witness. They conduct a door-to-door investigation of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, it was 3 p.m. at the time of the crime. There were very few pedestrians on the road. No one saw anyone running away from Satomi's house. As a result, the police were unable to determine the direction of the suspect's escape. This made it difficult for the police to solve the case. Satomi's grandmother was rushed to the intensive care unit of the local hospital. Due to the timely resuscitation, the grandmother survived by a miracle. At the same time, the forensic work of the crime scene is also in progress. The police get a fingerprint of an unknown person at the scene. The fingerprints do not belong to anyone in the family. It is most likely the fingerprints left by the suspect. Besides, several shoe prints of the same size were found on the floor of Satomi's bedroom. Police theorized that this was left by the suspect when he ran away and did not have time to dispose of them. Based on the pattern of the prints, the make and model of the shoes were found. The shoe size was 26 to 27 centimeters. Some dander was found under Satomi's fingernails. A male DNA was extracted from the dandruff. Basically, it can be assumed that the DNA belongs to the murderer. Although the police found these important pieces of evidence, it was very difficult to solve the case with just these of evidence. But the good news is that Satomi's sister and grandmother have seen the face of the murderer. After questioning them, they said they remembered the face of the murderer very well. The police managed to draw a portrait of the man based on his sister and grandmother's description. The man was described as having short hair, thin eyes and visible acne on his face. The body is strong and about 165 centimeters tall. The age was around 20 years old. After the portrait was drawn, the Hiroshima Prefectural Police have confidence to arrest him. They believed that if they could determine who was in the portrait, together with the shoe prints, fingerprints, DNA and other irrefutable evidence at the scene, they would be able to convict the criminals. So the police gave the portrait to Satomi's family, neighbors, classmates and passers-by to look at. The police tried to find out who could recognize him. Unfortunately, no one recognized the man in the portrait. They brought this case to an unsolved crime. Satomi left this world so young. This caused her family a great deal of pain. What made it even more painful was no suspect was found. No one had ever seen him. He ran away without a trace. It just like he had vanished from the earth. Satomi's parents had saved 3 million yen for Satomi to pay for his future college fee. However, no one could have imagined that such a misfortune would happen. The father was very sad and angry about it. He would never forgive the murderer in his life. He offered a reward of 3 million yen to anyone who could provide information about the murder. The posters of the reward were put up in the streets. They were plastered in crowded places. They were plastered in police stations and all over the country. More and more people became aware of the murder case of the high school girl case in Hiroshima Prefecture. The Hiroshima Prefecture police did not give up. They investigated more than 40,000 people over the next 10 years. As time passed, the killer was still not found yet. The father also set up his own internet website. He updated it almost every day. He kept writing for over a decade. He would write about his feelings as well as disclose the latest developments in the case. In total, he wrote more than 4,000 journals in a period of 10 years. He thought about his daughter every day, hoping that one day he would find the killer and get justice for her. 11 years after the murder case, the Hiroshima Prefecture police brought in experts from other lines as well as a panel of experts from the United States to reinvestigate the case. The expert team is called Behavior Analysis Unit. This is the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral Analysis Unit. The department has been using behavioral science analysis to assist in crime investigations. The team has helped solve many unsolved cases. The investigation team revisited the area where the crime was committed. Some neighbors are re-interviewed. They did a comprehensive analysis through criminal psychology. A conclusion was made. The murderer did not intend to kill Satomi at the time of the crime. Rather, it was something else that had happened that made the perpetrator do it. Based on the police portraits and modern technology, they were able to reconstruct the suspect's face 11 years after the crime. The computer-generated portraits are closer to the suspect than the portraits of that year. It is said that it is difficult to change the shape of a person's eyes as they age. However, with the help of B.A.U experts, no progress has been made in the case. Just when everyone thought that the case would never be solved, one day in April 2018, something unexpected happened. On that day, the police in Yamaguchi, Japan, received a 911 call. The caller identified himself as an employee of a construction company in Ube, Yamaguchi Prefecture. His supervisor kicked hard at his butt for losing his temper. He was kicked in hope that the police would handle. So the police came to the construction company. The supervisor name is Kashima. He is 35 years old. He's an old employee of the construction company and has been working for 10 years. Due to a conflict at work, he lost his temper and kicked his employee. His employee felt aggrieved by his kick. So he called the police. After the Yamaguchi Prefecture police arrived at their company, the two men's anger had almost subsided. But since the police were called in, the police still had to take a record according to police procedure. Especially to Kashima, who kicked his employee. When the police prepare to record Kashima fingerprints, he shows clear signs of unease and agitation. However, he was only in conflict with his employee and did not cause any serious consequences. It was just a minor injury accident. After apologized to his employee, Kashima, who had recorded this incident, was allowed to leave. One of the police officers noticed Kashima's uneasiness when recording this case. He felt something strange. He handed Kashima's fingerprints to Yamaguchi Prefectural Police Headquarters. A few days later, Yamaguchi Prefectural Police Headquarters compare his fingerprint in the crime fingerprint database. Unexpectedly, the system sent out a loud alarm. The fingerprint was an exact match to the one left at the scene of the murder of the high school girl murder case in Hiroshima Prefecture 2004. Kashima lives in Ube, Yamaguchi Prefecture. Yamaguchi Prefecture is right on the edge of Hiroshima Prefecture. The two prefectures are right next to each other. The distance from Ube City to Hatsukiichi City is about 100 kilometers. It is entirely possible that he committed the crime. Kashima's age is 35 years old. He was 21 in 2004. That matches the age of the suspect, who was described by Satomi's sister and grandmother. Yamaguchi Prefectural Police considered Kashima to be a serious suspect in the crime. They arrested him and handed him over to the Hiroshima Prefectural Police. The owner of the construction company where Kashima works was shocked when he heard the news. This is what he said about Kashima. He never missed work and had a good work ethic. Kashima's boss completely unexpectedly his employees work for 10 years and his company actually is a murderer. In March 2020, the case went to trial. When Kashima was first arrested by the police, he refused to admit his guilt. But when he faced by those hard evidence in the court, Kashima finally confessed to the heinous crime he committed. Kashima stated that he and Satomi Kitaguchi did not know each other. He came to Hatsukiichi City from Ube City by a motorcycle. He was depressed because of his job. There were very few people on the road that day. So he found Satomi Kitaguchi, who was riding her bike home at noon. He followed Satomi to her house. After he observing outside the door for a while, he decided to break into the room and violate her. She resisted, but Kashima got angry and took out the folding knife in his pocket. Then he accidentally killed her. On March 18, 2020, the Hiroshima Prefectural District Court handed down its verdict on the case. The judge Masanori Yamamoto stated that Kashima didn't surrender to the court for more than 10 years. It has caused deep pain to this victim's family. The judge pronounced the defendant, Kashima, guilty as charged of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. This unsolved murder case finally solved. For Satomi's family, who had been suffering for a long time, there was finally a ray of relief. After the trial, Satomi's father wrote this in his weblog. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. The story almost ended. Justice was late this time, but not absent." To this day, Satomi's father still keep updating his weblog. He still feels guilty about his daughter and hopes he can soon be free of the pain and face life again. I believe that's what Satomi would like to see as well. See you next week in the Crime Investigator.